Assalamu alaikum and welcome back here to the Faithful Scribe. And this is going to be a supplemental video. It's like a volume 3B to the last video of volume 3 on women's education and right to life. And it's important that we do these supplementals from time to time because if I put all the information in one video, that could be very time consuming for a lot of us, right? A lot of us have a lot of important things to do, and I don't want to cloud too much into one video, and certain key points could be missed. So I do sometimes supplemental videos to the subject that was discussed prior. Now, we got the question that comes, and we have to deal with this question, okay? If Islam is so protective, how do you explain Afghanistan? How do you explain the Taliban? Girls can't even finish high school. Doesn't that destroy your whole argument? And then other institutions throughout the world where the individuals claim that Islam is the rule over their community, over their state, over their governing. And in some of those institutions, you may see that women seem to have less rights. Well, let's talk about that. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it calmly, factually, and without demonizing an entire people. Let's do that. Okay, for starters, separate the text from the practice. Let's understand that. Separate, that means divide the text, Qur'an and Sunnah, from the practice of people. We have to draw a hard line between Islam and Muslims, between divine guidance and human implementation. The Quran and Sunnah are perfect. Okay? Muslims, which is myself included, we're not. We all fall short somewhere. And that's why Allah states in the Quran, today I have perfected your religion for you. Notice he didn't say your practice is perfect. He said the religion is. Any community, whether in Kabul or in Cairo or Kansas, that violates Quranic mandates has stepped outside the ideal of Islam. Secondly, what the Quran and Sunnah actually require, we have to look at that. Allah stated, as we mentioned in our last video, He said, read, Iqra, read, make seeking knowledge the very first command. That was the very first command Allah has given us. And when we look in through the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Sahih Bukhari and in Ibn Majah, the Prophet stated seeking knowledge is obligatory upon every Muslim. Every Muslim, and we discussed that in the last video. He also stated whoever has two daughters and treats them well, they will be a protection for him from the fire. And that we talked about too. So none of these texts come with an asterisk that reads, except in wartime, or, unless your government can't manage it. Denying women the right to learn is a direct collision with revelation. It goes against the wahi. It goes against what Allah has stated. But what's happening on the ground? Let's look at some documented facts. And let's go back to Afghanistan, okay? Since the Taliban's return, and that was in August 2021, girls' secondary schools have remained closed in most provinces, although some primary grades operate and a handful of provinces allow private tutoring. Yeah, universities admitted women for one academic year, then suspended them in December 2022. Yeah, women can still study informal, which is called Darul Ulooms, which is like health sciences institutes in certain regions, and online courses, but access is patchy and it's very risky. And then UNESCO, it estimated that female literacy in Afghanistan at roughly 30%, and you have male literacy is about 55%. So yes, a restriction exists. It's real, not just a Western spin. The numbers are there. But we ask the question, why the disconnect? Well, this is some of the issues they're dealing with. You got security and resources. Taliban officials say they need a safe Islamic environment and more female teachers before reopening schools. This is what they state. Whether sincere or not, Allah knows best, right? The shortage is undeniable. Only 17% of Afghan teachers are women. Then you have tribal culture versus Sharia. Rural Pashtun customs often equate female seclusion with family honor. And that predates Islam in Arabia and sometimes overrides it. So that was going on way before the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam brought Islam to those areas. So that's cultural. And then you have internal disagreement. Senior Taliban spokesperson Sabihullah Mujahid told Al Jazeera, and this was in October 2022, that education is a right, while the Ministry for Vice and Virtue Cities religious review as grounds for delay. Even within the movement, scholars are debating. So, does this invalidate Islam? No. If a Muslim steals, theft doesn't become Islamic. If a Muslim lies, lying doesn't become Sunnah. Likewise, if an authority blocks girls' education, that policy is theirs, not Allah's. The Prophet ﷺ warned us against this conflation. If you follow the errors of those before you, handspan by handspan. This was in Sahih Bukhari. Our job is to measure actions against revelation, not rewrite revelation to fit actions. Do we understand that? Our job is to measure the actions against the revelation, the wahi from Allah, not rewrite what Allah has told us to fit our actions. We don't do that as Muslims. Constructive, not destructive. I'm not here to bash the Taliban or cheer Western think tank talking points. That's not what I'm here to do. The reality is complex. 4 decades of war shredded infrastructure. A U.S.-backed government spent billions yet left 3,000 ghost schools on paper. Sanctions freeze national assets, choking education budgets today. But complexity doesn't excuse non-compliance. If the Taliban or any Muslim group wants true Islamic legitimacy, they have to align with the Qur'an's command to educate women. Period. So what can we do? Well, 1, we have dua and advocacy. Pray for all oppressed Muslims and raise informed voices without blanket takfir or blind cheerleading. 2, support grassroots education. Fund online platforms, homeschool networks, and female teacher training inside and outside Afghanistan. 3, you want to promote authentic scholarship. Afghan scholars who cite classical fiqh in favor of girls' schooling need amplification. Their voices need to be heard. And 4, hold everyone accountable. Western powers, too, should answer for sanctions that cripple civilian sectors. Justice has no double standard in Islam. My final thoughts on this. Girls barred from classrooms today are not evidence against Islam, by no means. And if somebody bring it, because the evidence is here. The Qur'an and the Sunnah is our barometer. That's how we measure everything we do in life in Islam. Their evidence against our collective failure to live up to Islam. That's on the Muslims. The religion that began with Iqra, read, will never endorse ignorance, no matter who's in power. So what we do, we ask, may Allah guide all of us, including every leader, Taliban or otherwise, to implement his commandments fully and justly. Be back again for the next Her Rights in Islam, where we deal with another right or rights that our dear sisters have. Okay, until next time, thanks for coming. Like, subscribe, and assalamu alaikum.